Yo, what's up guys, welcome back to the channel. Today I'm coming at you with a news update video. In this video I'm going to be covering two pieces of news that have come out recently, so stay tuned if you want the update. In this video I'm going to be talking about the MCD situation with the Hangzhou Spark, but before we get to that there's a bit of breaking news that I have to tell you guys, and it's quite disappointing. So as a result of multiple teams not being able to make it to the United States for the Overwatch League playoffs this season, they are cancelling the live events. Instead, the playoffs and the grand finals are going to be played in Hawaii as the previous tournaments have been. This is really disappointing. We all wish we could see live events. Even if you're not attending, the atmosphere is so much better than these online events, and it's really disappointing that we're going to have two grand finals in a row now where they're not going to be in a live stadium. However, I guess it will just make when we go back to live events so much sweeter. Okay, now on to the other news, the MCD news with the Hangzhou Spark. Very recently, the Hangzhou Spark have dropped MCD for some comments he made in a game of Overwatch, which were very derogatory and directed at a Chinese player. So as a result of this, the Hangzhou Spark have terminated MCD's contract, leaving the Hangzhou Spark without MCD, their full-time starting flex support, and MCD without a team going into the playoffs. I'm not going to focus on the drama side too much of this, but I will say, MCD man, how are you going to be playing on a Chinese organisations especially, and say these kinds of things? Just a bit silly of you, really. You look like a clown. Whether he should have been dropped or not, you decide. But look at the history. Hangzhou Spark's strict. They had Crystal. They had this Sabiolbi thing recently. I mean, how can you expect not to get dropped from a strict and rigorous organisation like Hangzhou Spark? But anyway, what are the implications of this on the Hangzhou Spark, and what's MCD going to do? Well, I think if you're Hangzhou Spark, you're in a really horrific situation now. Your full-time starting flex support, who impressed everybody, a really phenomenal player, is not going to be with you for the play-ins. If Hangzhou Spark didn't have a steep enough hill, as it already was, they have to beat the Fusion and then beat the Seoul Dynasty just to get into the playoffs. And now they don't have MCD, one of their star players, to do it. This, in my mind, eliminates Hangzhou Spark from playoff contention. I'm not being harsh when I say that, but when you have a team that performs so inconsistently like the Hangzhou Spark, you really need every single pop-off player you can get your hands on. I mean, we already knew that the only way Hangzhou Spark would be qualifying is if they had a good day. And now they've got that one less star player to make it a good day. So that's my thoughts on the Hangzhou Spark situation, but what about MCD? Now, however horrific you think his statements was, I definitely think there's a team out there for him. He is an absolutely phenomenal flex support player, and I think it would just be a talent wasted over a controversy which I'm sure he is regretful about if he doesn't find a team. I think it will be very tough for him to find a team before playoffs or play-ins, near impossible. However, going into next season, he definitely could be a part of a team rebuild, for example, or even just a piece going into an already great team that makes it one step better. I initially considered the Washington Justice to be one of these teams, but Bebe's been performing fairly well. What about the Seoul Dynasty though? I mean, creative is really good. On the Ana specifically though, I think on the Baptiste and the Zen maybe, MCD could come in and really give this team a boost up. You may have noticed after I've listed these teams, they're both considered quite a chunk better than the Hangzhou Spark at most occasions, and that's because I don't want to see MCD go to a bottom tier team as many previously great players do. That's because I feel MCD has the caliber to actually take home a championship surrounded by the right players. But he could just end up going to some really low budget team and just perform poorly, which will make people think he's a bad player when he's really phenomenal, but surrounded by trash players it is really difficult to look that way. In terms of in-game skill and how the players perform, I'm not talking about the controversy now, I'm not talking about the outside of the game, but I view MCD's talent right now as that which we saw from Twilight after the Vancouver Titans disbanded. I think he could perform a very similar function in a team, filling the gaps that their current flex support can't do, but not just as a flexible player, as a truly standout player on all the heroes he's flexing onto. And that's where my Seoul Dynasty thing came from. Creative is a great player, but he's not the most flexible flex support, surprisingly enough. MCD going into this team could really make a big difference as Twilight, as he did when he joined the San Francisco Shock. He really well-rounded that roster, being paired with Violet. They could really cover every flex support to an extremely high level. And that's going to do it for this video. Another quick one. I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, make sure you like, comment, subscribe, and share. Make sure you subscribe, definitely. Thanks. Goodbye.